Hello and welcome to Just Hoops. This past weekend, we had a battle of the titans between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. In this video, we're going to look at their matchup and really break down what they do and how teams adjusted to play against them. Nikola Jokic against Philadelphia had 24, 8, 9, 2 blocks, and shot incredibly efficient as he usually does. Now let's look at his season stats to really see what he's doing this year in his route to his third MVP. 25, 10, and 10, 1.4 steals, and shooting 70% true shooting, and a plus 22.8, which leads the NBA. Now to go to the other half of the duel, Joel Embiid had a great day against the Nuggets. 47 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, shooting over 58% from the field. Joel this season has also been a dominant force, averaging over 33 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4.2 assists, over a steal, and nearly 2 blocks a game, shooting 64% true shooting and plus 11 when he's on the floor. Now let's go to the game from Saturday and see what made this battle so fun. Let's do the Nikola Jokic side of things first. So to start the game, Denver really just wanted to get a feel for how the Sixers were guarding Jokic, what they were doing in terms of different looks, different screens, different actions. And I think Jokic took this to heart, and he really just wanted to feel them out. He took mismatches to the post. He faced up Joel, used jabs, used ball fakes just to see what he was doing. Tried to drive by him, like in this next clip. It's a short roll. He catches it and just goes against Joel, just trying to see how he's playing him, see what's going on. One big thing in the first quarter was when Joel came out of the game, Montrezl Harrell was in a deep drop, and Jokic was able to take advantage with a pop, just being less mobile and less willing to guard two at the same time, so he found advantage against that. But Denver was just playing their game in the first half, especially the first quarter, and Nikola was taking advantage. You can see too that they really trusted Joel to guard him one-on-one and made everything else hard by denying, and Jokic took advantage by finding guys on back cuts, finding guys behind those denials, behind the pressure applied by Philadelphia. Here in that clip, it was a post-up, and because Jokic got the advantage, there was an easy 45 cut. Just doing all these things early in the game, it made Philly be in a really tough spot because Jokic was kind of just picking them apart. You were giving him one-on-one coverage, and everyone else was so stuck to their guy that he was able to sit back, observe, and allow guys to make plays for him. Here's another example of Montrezl Harrell being in that deep drop and not being able to recover. He gets the ball, and then because of that deep drop, they had a switch, and then Harden was on him, but a bad pass resulted in a turnover. Throughout the game, though, Jokic really tried to take advantage of early offensive situations where he can run the floor, get to the rim, and make plays in the paint. There was just a variety of looks in the first half that really made it challenging for Philadelphia, especially in bench minutes with Montrezl Harrell. Just bad switches, just deep drops where Jokic was able to pop. And also, Jokic was able to take Montrezl Harrell to the post, unlike Joel Embiid, and go make a move on him, make a play, and finish like that play right there. The last few clips of the half just show how much Philly really wanted that one-on-one, make Jokic earn everything type of vibe, but it put so much responsibility off the ball. Here in this clip, we're going to get into their two-man action in the middle of the floor. You can see Philly is staying home. There's really no help in the lane, and it results in a slip screen. Jokic catches and throws the lob to Aaron Gordon to end the half. At halftime, Philly made a huge adjustment, putting PJ Tucker on Nikola Jokic. This made him struggle due to the physicality level and just constant pressure applied by PJ. And then secondly, you allow Joel Embiid to do what he does. He was covering the middle of the floor, being in the middle of the lane, making things difficult deep in the paint, and it kind of allowed Joel to zone up off of Aaron Gordon, off of whoever he was guarding. It was typically Gordon though, and PJ was just a pest. He was up into the ball, making things difficult, and it allowed Joel Embiid to just work and do what he does. Jokic was trying to rush decisions. The pressure was kind of getting to him at times, but there were also moments where he made the pressure work for him, like there in that floater because of the denial jump, and he was just able to get an easy move. But because of the mismatch, Denver was really trying to attack with post touches consistently, getting Jokic a touch on the block, allowing him to go back to the basket and make plays happen there. But because of PJ's physicality and Joel being where Joel is, it was really tough for them. And then they went zone for a second, but just putting Jokic in the middle of the floor is a mistake. He's such a good playmaker. And here's another example of them having that four-man being active and having just pressure applied with guys on the wing that have size. This one resulted in a turnover again, but they went back to Joel at the beginning of the fourth quarter. This was just experimentation, I think, just because Joel is that physical force that could also guard him in the post and also stay with him pretty well on the perimeter. But because of that, everyone else was back in their denial like the beginning of the game, and it led to some buckets. Then they went back to what they were doing with the big wings on him and letting Joel work. Jokic was taking his time, being more patient late in the game, but it still caused a lot of issues for Denver's offense, slowed them down, made Jokic less effective as a passer and also as a finisher in the paint because of having Joel there. They were doubling him when he turned his back to the defense, causing a couple turnovers also. Just really good adjustments by Philadelphia to slow down and neutralize Nikola Jokic. Yes, he did have a phenomenal day still, but being physical, making that adjustment, being high pressure, high activity, and being like, hey, we're going to make everyone else beat us instead of Jokic, and committing to that was definitely a huge adjustment in the second half. And also how Philly did it, it showed that they have a just true centerpiece in the middle of the floor defensively, and that PJ Tucker and everyone else on the wing could apply high-level defense. Now to go to Joel Embiid's side of things. He had a phenomenal start to the game, and it was kind of the same thing that Denver did in terms of getting a feel for the game, getting a feel for the coverages. Joel and Philadelphia just kind of went into what they do. Short rolls, pick and pops, playing out of him in the trail, just doing what Philadelphia does on any given night just to get a feel for what Denver had planned for Joel. And it resulted really well. He scored on his first 4 touches, just playing in rhythm, getting downhill, taking what the defense gave him. But once both teams settled into the game a little bit, you had a better idea what Denver was doing. They were trying to keep Jokic on him and dare him to shoot jumpers. You can see in this middle of the floor catch here that Jokic is backing off, but playing a cat and mouse with him, reaching in, being really active with his hands, really active with his feet, and it resulted in some missed shots, some tips, some just disruptive defense by Nikola Jokic, and he did a really good job with this backed off, but also cat and mouse on the ball activity. It was fun to watch. And then in pick and rolls, if Harden went left, they were committing to him. If he went right, it was typically a drop, and Jokic was trying to get back to Joel. In the middle of the floor, you can just see that Jokic was dropping off a little bit, trying to get to the middle of the floor. And Philly was just trying to get Joel in these spots, get him in that gray area, get him in that 15 to 18 feet range, allow him to catch, turn, and make a play to the hoop. And it just results in good offense for them. Throughout the first quarter, the more that Joel was able to get those touches in the middle of the paint, in that gray area, just catch, turn, face, and look. But Jokic did have his way a little bit at times, resulting in some frustration by Joel Embiid seen in that clip. But just being active, being a pest kind of on the ball, and just making Joel have to think a little bit about his decisions was good enough for Denver and forcing him into jumpers, but Joel was capitalizing, scoring on these opportunities, ending the quarter with 2 threes, and then to start the second quarter, Jokic was out of the game. This is his rest time, so Joel decided to dominate. Philadelphia made a point of going to him on the block, going into him on the elbows, allowing him to be a physical force on the floor, giving him space to operate in the paint, and just go make plays deep in the lane. He might not have made all of these shots, but at the end of the day, he was like, hey, I have an advantage. I'm going to go be physical. I'm going to bring out my inner Shaquille O'Neal and go make a play. It deep in the lane. He was offensive rebounding. He was really active on the interior offensively, and it was tough for Denver to find ways to stop him without Jokic on the floor. Just having Zeke Naji in there, not as strong, not as physically dominant, Joel was like, hey, I'm going to catch this, and I'm going to go to work, barbecue chicken, but Denver started sending more bodies his way, loading the paint a little bit before Jokic got back in the game, and Jokic was going back to what he was doing, sinking back a little bit, being active with his hands, and trying to force Joel into jump shots early. To start the second half, Philly was trying to get Joel in the middle of the floor as a short roller, so James Harden was going to his right hand, so there was no double teams. Jokic was sinking off, and it resulted in some clean catches for Joel in that mid-post short roll area. But an adjustment by Philly early in the second half was that Denver was really loading the middle of the lane, and it made Joel have to shoot these jumpers. And instead of settling, they decided to go to a simple side pick and roll, and it allowed Joel to have a one-on-one opportunity to play against Jokic. This adjustment early in the second half resulted in a lot of easy buckets because you could see that Denver was loading the middle, and they were focused on the middle of the floor from the weak side. So putting Embiid in side pick and rolls, in corners and things like that to attack the baseline was a huge adjustment by Philly offensively in the second half. Yes, there were moments when Denver sent bodies, when Denver loaded the lane and forced a couple turnovers, and it was really hard for Joel and his traditional touches at the elbow and block throughout most of the third quarter and fourth quarter because of how much loaded the paint and gaps were. But at the end of the day, Joel was able to attack Jokic one-on-one on the baseline, and sometimes Jokic got his way like that last clip there, just being physical and bodying up. And other times, Joel was such a force and skilled offensive player that Jokic couldn't stay in front. Jokic couldn't contain. Jokic couldn't prevent him from touching the paint, and it resulted in Joel getting by him, getting downhill, and also getting a lot of clean looks in the mid-range. Yes, like this clip here, Denver loaded up, forced a turnover off of Joel, but the majority of the second half, Joel Embiid was able to catch it clean, go make a play, and when Jokic was out of the game to end the third quarter, he was able to dominate on the interior, just getting downhill, being a force in the paint. And to end the third quarter, he had a phenomenally high IQ basketball play, first getting the steal in the middle of the lane and then sweeping through for the foul to get himself to the free throw line to end the quarter. Then in the fourth quarter, it was Joel's world. They knew that the middle of the paint and middle of the floor was going to be loaded, so we're going to try to get Joel in a spot to attack the baseline, putting him in post touches, putting him in side pick and rolls, just to get downhill, get a good catch, and go make a play in an area where there was little to no help. Yes, if he got it in the middle of the floor, Denver did a really good job at forcing him into jumpers, which was kind of their game plan. Let's load the paint, load the gaps if he's in the middle of the floor. Jokic, sink off a little bit, be active with your hands. And then in pick and pop situations, we're going to load the block early. And yes, this worked out in terms of what Denver was trying to force, but Joel was capitalizing. Joel was making these shots and making it really tough for Denver to stay with that. So they ended up having to load up even earlier and earlier against Joel, and they kept the same ball screen coverage. If Harden went left, they went hard at him with a hard show, but if he went right, they dropped off. And they started attacking this double team, attacking the double, getting Joel a touch in the middle of the floor, playing with numbers, and going and making the right decision. And then this last clip to ice the game, they get a side pick and roll. Harden went to his right to attack the drop. Joel gets in the middle of the floor, ISO against Jokic, go make a play, and he hit this tough step back three to end it. Jokic and Embiid are two of the most fun watches in the NBA. They're dominant at both ends of the floor in their own ways, but this game really showed how they impact the game and how teams scheme against them to slow them down. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned something about basketball at the highest levels. For more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you in the next one.